Please remain standing for the next song, Shining Fatherland. Let's all remain standing and invite Vicky for the opening.
Please join me in prayer. Our most beloved Heavenly Parents and true parents, and Heavenly Parent, we want to pray for this crucial time that we're in at the moment. This crucial time, we really want to really invite the spirit world and to really join us in this amazing atmosphere that we can create here with the music and with our hearts and our sincere prayers. I really want to pray that we can come together here and on the internet, on the Zoom, and just unite as the Irish community. Truly pray for our mother, true mother, who is going through such a difficult and a way of the cross almost for all of us. And I really want to pray that we can just stand by her and give True Father energy and spirit world to support her, that we can support them both in this crucial time, this pivotal time in our history of our church. I really pray that we can stand tall during this moment. And we want to invite our brother, John Kennedy, and really speak through him, give us energy and inspirations for this week. And I really want to invite you and all of our brothers and sisters together to listen with our hearts. Pray all this in my name, Victoria, with the Low family, best under family, in attendance, in gratitude, and in attendance to Holy Mother Han. Adieu.
Adieu.
Thank you, Vicky, for the prayer and for the band. Yeah, let's all take our seats. And let's all welcome. Let's all welcome John for the sermon for today.
The band makes a big difference, doesn't it? Yeah, music is very uplifting. I think that's one of the strong points of our community. We've always had good singing here. Because I've been to other places and the singing isn't so great. Can be too soft or too quiet. But here it's always upbeat and quite uplifting, as we say. But especially with the music, I think live band is big addition. And so today I'm going to talk a little bit about two parents situation, mother situation. I know it's kind of been covered, but anyway, because we really can't talk about too much else at the moment because it's so important. And as Vicky prayed, it's such a crucial time in our situation in the providence. And so I just want to reflect a little bit about that. There's so many reflections from different people around the world at this time, and so I'm kind of coming at it from that angle in a way that the brothers and sisters are praying and speaking, and they also connecting mother situation to Jesus situation, and that there's a strong parallel there. So that's what I wanted to look at this morning in a way that, oh, I forgot we had readings as well. And so somebody can read the readings, possibly. Who put in the readings? Vicky, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Serve salvation through the cross. Who are the ones who could meet the resurrected Jesus? Those who let Jesus die, those who abandoned Jesus, and scattered everywhere to wander according to their will, could not meet Jesus. After his death, who was the person who went in search for Jesus without eating for 3 days? Who was groping in darkness, not knowing where his body was? The disciples of Jesus could have become this kind of people more than anyone else. However, the 3 disciples that Jesus loved the most, Peter, James, and John, all returned home. The ones who met Jesus, the ones who were the women who searched for Jesus too before dawn. They were Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James, and Salome. They were longing for Jesus, who had been executed as a traitor, shedding tears for the 3 days, unable to bear it any longer. They came searching for him. They were the first ones to meet the resurrected Jesus. This shows in what direction and how the believers of the last days should act. True Father. Oh, it's very long. When I went to Danbury, you were crying out, "Father, don't go to jail. I don't like that." But had anybody paid the indemnity for this nation? Out of all the Unification Church members, no one understood that. I was the only one standing in that position. At the time of Jesus, So at the time Jesus was on the cross, many Jewish women were shedding tears, and Jesus told them, "Do not weep for me, but for yourselves and for your children." It was the same concept at the time of Danbury. I was to inherit the highest position in providential history, but Satan spread propaganda that the worst name in history is that of Reverend Mooney. Satan said, "I will tear down the love castle that surrounds Reverend Moon. I will tear down everything and make it a flat field." Was God able to visit me? No. I had to go this course alone. I had no teacher or even friend. Father knows more than anybody else that you can tolerate those who oppose you from outside, who don't know you. But when the very ones you love comes against you fiercely like everybody else, it's very difficult to deal with it. Try to forget. This is the task now. How can God shake loose of his experience of being opposed? For God to forget this will be a more difficult problem than you realize. Father knows this. True Father. Do not worry about me. Do not pray for me. Pray and devote yourselves so that you and your families, our church, and the will of our Heavenly Parent may be fulfilled. I love you all. True Mother.
So I just want to share a little bit about first the point about that Jesus' life and how there's a comparison there with True Mother's situation, and because Mother has declared that she's the only begotten daughter, and Jesus is the only begotten Son. So from that point of view, they have Mother's often expressed that she feels very close to Jesus, and Jesus' life was, that he went how his situation was, so that he, from the very beginning, he should have been in a different circumstances when he was a child growing up, that he should have stayed with Elizabeth and Zachariah's family, and that they would raise him, and he would grow up in a good environment, and then he would be introduced to the leaders of society, would receive a very good education, and thus he would be protected in that environment. But then, because from the very beginning things started to go wrong, and he didn't have that protected environment, and people didn't know who he really was, even the close ones besides him. His mother, Mary, wasn't able to protect him as well because of her difficult situation and circumstances. So that was the background for Jesus having to go to a public ministry. This was something that I only realized more recently, that because of Mother's words as well, that Jesus should have and could have been more quietly fulfilled his mission, and therefore he would have found the bride that God had prepared for him, would have found the only begotten daughter that was there, and his mother Mary and Zachariah or Elizabeth, they could have done that together. Because you remember later on in the ministry, when in the Canaan, in the miracle of Cana, he said, somebody else was getting married, and somebody said, "Well, why don't you turn the water into wine?" And Jesus was saying, kind of indignantly, like, "What's that got to do with me?" And so we understand that to mean that Jesus himself should have had a wife earlier than that. And in fact, as we know also, that Jesus had approached his mother on 3 occasions to find his beloved bride, and on 3 different ages in his life, but that didn't occur. So this was a situation for Jesus that he didn't have that. So he had to go out, and I often wondered about that point, because John the Baptist then was his Cain figure, but John should have prepared the way. But John was actually close relative, so in one sense, it would have been much easier if John and Jesus had already got on well together, because they grew up in the same home and household. But in fact, John John went his separate way, therefore he had his own disciples and his own foundation, but Jesus was starting out alone and he had to try and make his foundation. So that was very difficult, a very difficult situation. And eventually he had to go a suffering course because he tried to raise his disciples, but they couldn't really understand what he was really saying. He didn't understand his internal heart, his relationship with God, his position as the Messiah. They couldn't really grasp that. So he was talking in parables and stories, and then they were still not sure who he was, and that was his situation. And he had to go the way of the cross eventually. As you know, if you study divine principle, that you have to go the way of the cross. But of course, ideally, it's not necessary to go the way of the cross, but this was a secondary course, and he willingly took upon himself then that. This was the victory of the cross, in fact, and then when he could also be resurrected. Christianity always adore the cross. They put the cross on a very high pedestal because they say Jesus died on the cross for our salvation, and because of Jesus' love for humanity. Somehow for us, we cannot accept it so easily like that because we know the circumstances that led up to Jesus dying on the cross. But I think we also need to understand where Christianity stands. They feel that Jesus did everything he could and that it was a predestined course for him to die on the cross. Therefore, it's complete salvation. They don't have to worry about anything else. But in reality, it was because Jesus was resurrected and that he could come back in spirit to his disciples, and then he could speak to them and gather them together again, because they already they had lost hope. As we read in one of the readings, in the end, at the cross, there was only a few women left there, like Mary Magdalene, and his mother Mary, and Salome. So the women were more closer in heart to Jesus than even the men. Because you remember, if you were reading it, sometimes the disciples were vying about position. Who's going to be the best in the kingdom of heaven? Who's going to be with you at your right hand side? And they had this right up to the end of his life. They were still kind of in that kind of a mode of thinking. Now, when we bring it to that sense, that was the course that Jesus went through, the way of the cross, and he brought salvation to humankind, to the Christians and to all mankind, who would believe in him after that. Mother is in a similar situation today because it's the only begotten daughter. Then she's in this situation of going the way of the cross. That's how we feel it, and she's in a confined situation, in a small room, in a six meter square, which is actually very small. Just looking at that yesterday, it's a very small room. But she's in that situation. People now we all feel very kind of desperate and also helpless at the same time, because it all happened so quickly. Mother is in that situation. You can say it's very similar to how the Jewish people felt, and the disciples and people around him at the time of Jesus, when he had to go the way of the cross. They must have felt very helpless. Now they can't do anything about it. A few of his people at the time, I think one of his disciples took out a sword and said, I think he actually chopped off the ear of somebody in the Garden of Gethsemane, but Jesus didn't want that at that time. So it comes to a time where you can't really just use violence or use some force to liberate Jesus. And I heard that some people in Korea are feeling, very angry and very much, we have to do something. We can't just let this happen. But yet, Mother has asked us not to do that, to pray, to offer Jeong-sung, and to basically to unite and in a way keep going, keep doing what we're doing, but keep doing it, and also be more united in heart. Because this is the key always, the unity. The unity is the most important thing in the dispensation, in the providence. Unity of heart, unity with heavenly parents, unity with true parents. Just like in the time of Jesus, people would have to unite in heart with Jesus. And so Mother is saying to us to keep that. And that's almost like it's almost like her last words, pray for yourself, pray for your families, pray for your community, and do God's will. And she's at the same time loving us. That's very similar to what Jesus even said. Like he said to the daughters of Jerusalem, you don't need to pray for me, pray for yourself, pray for your children. In one sense, when we hear that words of Jesus, there was a kind of a warning or an admonition there that it is a serious moment. It is a serious moment because for the Jewish people it was a very serious moment, but they couldn't catch it. They couldn't really grasp it, but it was meant that afterwards an indemnity came to the Jewish people, to their people, as we know. But Mother is not in that position as such, but how do we know? She's in a very, very difficult situation, and unless a miracle happens and she can come out, she's not in a so it's a very kind of precarious situation for true Mother, but it's also a very precarious situation for us Unification Church members and all Family Federation members all around the world, because we need to keep faith, we need to keep hope, and we need to keep unity at the same time. And that's what Mother wants us to do. I think this is a very good opportunity because it's a transitional time. Mother, if we can, if all of us, we stay together, we are more united than ever. There are traitors, unfortunately, closest to Mother. Just like in Jesus' occurrence, there was traitors directly responsible for the situation that Jesus found himself in. So there are those situations, and yet we need to still feel hope, feel, okay, I'm going to be faithful, I'm going to be loyal. And most of all, Mother wants us, as I understand it also, that we need to reflect more deeply in ourselves as well. What we can do better or differently. We need to resolve the differences between us. I heard recently one elder brother saying that all the things that we feel, we dislike people, or we have a grudge against somebody, or we don't know even why. We've often experienced it ourselves, and we often sometimes don't even know why somebody doesn't like another person, or why doesn't somebody dislike me? Did I do something wrong, etc.? And there's all kinds of things that we could clear up, so that we would be much more like resurrected ourselves spiritually, like in a position to make a new start. Just like when Jesus died on the cross, he came back, but he came back on a new foundation, a resurrected foundation. The physical resurrection is one thing, but the spiritual resurrection was that he came back to the people on a different level. They had to meet him on a different level, spiritually. Do you remember also it says that Mary Magdalene wanted to approach him, and he told her, no, I can't. He couldn't give her a hug even, because he was on a different spiritual level then. So this is what we're looking forward to. The Mother can come out as soon as possible, because in the circumstances that she's in a very precarious situation, because she's, as somebody said, was it Newt Gingrich said that, are they trying to kill her? Because you can kill somebody without actually killing them. You can deprive them of medicine. You can put them in circumstances which are very hostile, especially for an 82-year-old woman who already has a heart condition and who already has many health issues. So I think that from that point of view, really it's a desperate situation, to be honest. But I am hopeful from the point of view that a miracle can happen because of all the devotions and gemstones that people are offering. It's very sincere. You see that in Korea, brothers and sisters going to the detention center all times of the day and night, praying there. They're not running away. Nobody's running away in this situation when Mother is in this circumstances. So I feel our foundation is so much better than in the time of Jesus, when nobody really was there for him, except maybe a handful of women who wanted to be there for him. I think because of their artistic relationship with Jesus, they trusted him, they loved him, they felt his true love. So they were there right up to the end. And but of course Peter in the Gospel of Jesus, he denied Jesus 3 times, and then he was very heartbroken afterwards when Jesus approached him at one point, and Jesus looked at him, and then he knew what he had done, that he had not that he had betrayed Jesus, he had run away from the circumstances because somebody was saying, "Aren't you also with this person?" And he wasn't able to say that. But then he went out and he wept bitterly, it says. So that Father gave a whole sermon in the 50s about that very incident with Peter and Jesus, how Jesus looked at Peter and how Peter repented. Because very few people in the actual situation repented, realized, oh, I've done something wrong here, or I could have done a little bit better. Now we're in a kind of a situation where we can more truly repent, not in a way of flogging ourselves to death, but think about the situation of true parents, situation of true mother. Father already had gone through this cross many times in his life. He had been to the cross many times. He'd been in tremendous suffering situations. This month alone, October the 14th, was his release from Hungnam prison. Well, Father had gone through the cross, and Father had gone through the cross even in America, which is supposed to be the bastion of democracy. Father had gone through the cross there, and he describes that in his speeches, etc. And yet he expressed it that when he came out, he was resurrected because a new foundation was prepared. Like the Christian foundation were moving towards Father at that time. One thing that struck me about this whole thing about Danbury was that it took 3 or 4 years before, it started in 1982, and there was appearances in court, and there was different situations, and Father was in those circumstances, but Father never ran away. He came back from Korea, of course. He was not going to run away from his responsibility, and yet he described one time, I was reading it in one of his speeches, that the prosecutor, he was saying, for Father in this situation, he said, this man, Mr. Flummenbaum, was the name of the prosecutor or lawyer or something. He said, he's a real vicious guy, he says. He's a vicious person. Yet, a mother was so concerned about Father, like saying, how are you feeling, Father? How are you? Well, Father says, we have to forgive these people. We need to forgive them. So this was a situation that Father went through. Don't think that the Messiah or Mother, they just go through things without feeling human emotions. Mother was devastated when the people of Korea treated her like this. We came from the high of the opening of the Cheonwon Sanctum. I was there in Korea. That was a high point. This was like a complete new beginning in the province, and yet months later, this situation occurred. So in a way tragic in a way for us all. But Mother steadfastly, she's come to terms with that, of course, and she's not going to change. This is the beautiful thing. We have true parents who don't change. They don't change according to the circumstances. I know Mother was back in Danbury era when Father went to prison. She was actually finding it very difficult at that time because this was a very unique situation for her. And she had to take responsibility and leadership for the whole movement. She had so many responsibilities, and she was definitely a I remember reading a word that she found it very difficult. But mother became much more stronger as the years gone by. And now she's really one with true father, one in heart and spirit, one in mind. So they're really together, and father spirit and mother spirit are together. So this is how mother is now at this moment, internally very strong spiritually, but physically she's really suffering. There's no doubt about it, because the true daughters-in-law, I'm sure you've heard their reports, what's her name? Wonder? Huh? Yeah. Wonder who? No. Yeah, whatever, you're right. Those people went to see her, and they said very clearly that mother she says, I'm suffering. I'm very ill, she says at the moment. Jonathan, that's what I think, Jonathan. I'm very ill, I'm really suffering. So I felt really torn by that mother would not say that if she wasn't really ill. And she can't, she cannot, the room she's in, it's hot and cold, like it's humid. It's also cold because she has to sleep on the ground. As far as we know, it's not heated in that situation. So mother's health is really like that. We can know that too from our own selves, myself. As you get a bit older, it's more difficult to fit into new circumstances. Take somebody out of your comfortable environment. Like mother has a routine. She has the freedom to exercise. She has the freedom to move around, go out, and all of that. She has people around her. She's very comfortable with their family, with her grandchildren, with her, daughters-in-law, or these kind of situations. That makes life incredibly tolerable and comfortable. Mother has been pulled totally out of that environment into a very hostile environment. The hostility is not only the prosecutorial interrogation that she went through, 25 hours in over a number of days in September. She had been brought before you can imagine, a very hostile type of questioning, not just like gently questioning her about it. No, this is hostile interrogation, really hard for a person's heart and for their health, to take that. So I just wanted to say these things today, maybe just to try to make it a little bit more realistic for us. And also, we need to have, of course, the most important thing is we can be hopeful and moving forward, because that's what really Mother likes us to do, is do what you are doing. Keep doing it, or maybe do a little bit extra, do a little bit more. Keep your position, and etc. etc. We all have different things we're doing, different responsibilities. So this would be Father's wish and Mother's wish, because we know that's what Father himself. I remember reading it just this morning, that even when he was going to the court and he knew that he was going to have a sentence on him, he was still doing many things, like starting the Washington Times and doing many other things. So much happened in those years, but Father just kept going. That's the thing about God's providence. It just keeps moving forward. So we need to realize that Heavenly Parents doesn't just stop moving, keeps moving forward. Providence cannot just stop. So I really pray that we can really catch something about this and just unite with Mother, her heart at the moment, and realize that it could be a very precious opportunity for all of us thinking about the future and how we're going to conduct ourselves in the current moment, and how would we manage if Mother was already gone to the spirit world. What do we do then? How would we respond to situations? Could we unite with a particular central figure or not? Or how would we manage in our own communities? Would we come more together? Because that's what the wishes of Heavenly Parents and true parents is. The more we are united in heart, moving in the same direction, then that's the best filial piety we could offer. I'd just like to finish with prayer. You want to pray? Will I pray? Beloved Heavenly Parents, thank you so much for our brothers and sisters here today who came to the Sunday service. We're trying to convey the heart, your situation, knowing that you don't tell us really what you're going through. Many times you can be even silent in the background, not able to express your real situation. And you must be relying on so much on this providence centering on true parents. So many times, Father nearly died. He died and he resurrected so many times, and he always felt that you were with him and supporting him. But Father was this kind of a person, incredibly loyal and faithful and loving to you, and always willing to start from the bottom, even in situations. True Father was such a person. Even when he came out of Hongnam, he tried to gather his disciples who were there before he had gone in. Most of them he couldn't reach, couldn't meet them. He wanted to go with them together down to South Korea. Heavenly Parents is the attitude of our true Father. He wanted to do that, and yet we are all here because of Father and Mother's coming together as a true parents in 1960, and Mother's been with Father all of these years as a very faithful companion, a person that most loves true Father, most loyal person, and she also she continued Father's legacy after he passed into the spiritual world in 2012. Mother was absolutely determined, and she accomplished so much in those years between 2013, when the Foundation Day was established, to 2020, and now we're in a certain course until 2027. Now Mother's in a very difficult situation, precarious situation for us all. A mother is not really worrying about herself in that sense. She is very worried about our foundation, our members, and all our blessed families, blessed children, and second and third generation. Fortunately, Heavenly Parents, there's a tremendous outpouring of love for Mother, but yet the world is still blind and deaf, and Korea itself is very far away at this moment from appreciating your beloved daughter. They're mocking in the media and all kinds of things. Although things are starting to change, and things will change, many new things will happen. Miracles will happen. We want to continue, Heavenly Parents, to have great faith in true parents and Heavenly Parents. And we want to be those kind of children that comfort you as well. And you can believe in us that we will never change. I pray this today with gratitude. In attendance of Holy Mother Hand, my name, John Kennedy, of the Blessed Family, Jew.
Thank you, John. Yeah, I feel like the whole situation, moving personally, but True Mother, I feel like it's been happening so fast. But yeah, it's a time to reflect as a community, individuals, how can we unite, and especially create oneness with True Mother. And also, I guess True Mother said, don't worry about me, pray for your families, and brothers and sisters. But also it's a time to reflect on what sort of foundation you want to create for the future, and how you can take ownership of your life of faith. And Damien, I can't fully quote Damien Dunkley, but he said something along the lines of, this is a time where we don't show anger and hate, but to represent of what we are as a movement, peace-loving global citizens. It's hard, I don't know, just to like even imagine like my grandmother was in that situation. It's tough, but what we can do is pray and show what we've learned growing up and what we've yeah, I'm rambling, so let's invite the band to come up for the closing song, Oh My Little Lamb.
Nice one.
Good job.
Good one.
Thank you. We can all take our seats. So do we have any new guests? All right, so I guess that's the end of service. Thank you for all attending, and then there's lunch downstairs. Jula. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Jula. All right, Thank you.
Yes.